Howdy, fellers. I reached out on X asking for everybody to give me their hottest takes on this world of pro wrestling. Both the current product, the old school product. We got everything from Money in the Bank this past weekend to the Ruthless Aggression era to ECW. A little Marcus Corvon sprinkled in there. I mean, what else could you want from a pro wrestling podcast? So I'm going to read out your hot takes or your hard takes, branding, and I'll respond to them. There's some pretty bad ones. I'm going to roast some people. I'm going to stick a pole up your ass and put you over the fire and cover you in marshmallow fluff and lick it off you. S'mores. Well, it's the Apron Bump Podcast.
Yeah. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Howdy. Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I am your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle. How is everybody doing today? Hope everybody's week is going well. Hope everybody's summer. Hope everybody's having a hot girl summer out there. Is that still a thing? Boiling hot here in Norfolk, Virginia. It's humid, it's rainy, it's hot. Steaming like a bunch of crabs up in this mug. Speaking of crabs, I have crabs, which is unrelated to the plugs I'm about to give. If you like the Apron Bump, if you are not already, follow me at Apron Bump on all the social medias. Join the Discord, yada, yada, yada. Just getting these plugs out of the way so we can dive right into these takes. We're going to talk a little bit about Money in the Bank that happened a few days ago as of recording this. Just for full transparency, I'm recording this on a Monday. What day, Kyle? 6/9. Like the sex position. So I'm recording before Raw, so there's a few things that might be influenced by Raw here. Well, it'll make sense in a little bit, but just so everybody's aware. But yeah, follow me everywhere. If you like old school wrestling, I strongly suggest you give the Apron Bump a follow, a subscribe, whatever. If you're watching this on YouTube, listening on whatever audio platform, give Daddy a follow, a like, a poke, suck all the juices out of my belly button until you become more me than you. So do all those things. You might as well just get right into it. Why dilly-daddle? You know what I'm saying? Let's get to them. So I reached out on the X platform, everybody's favorite platform, nothing but good vibes, good people, and just a healthy camaraderie amongst wrestling fans. It's almost too positive sometimes. I feel like it's just too fun being on there. You just can't keep me off of it. But you guys are great. You guys are great among the cesspool that is twitter.com. So some people threw some stuff at me on Discord, which we have a fun time on there. Can't emphasize it enough. Join the Discord. But let's start. I think what we're gonna do today is start with the more modern stuff, the more topical stuff, and then transition into more of the bread and butter of the Apron Bump, the old school stuff. But there's some very volatile topics that I think we need to get into. We might as well just not wait to do that. So we're going to start off with my boy, Mr. Frets from the Fretzelmania podcast. He has a few of them, but his first one, he says, if Money in the Bank exists, there is no need for King and Queen of the Ring. So I kind of agree with this, kind of don't. I think both can exist at the same time. I do, however, have an issue with them being back to back as they are now and have been for the past couple of years. Like, I don't know, man. First of all, if I had it my way, if I had my druthers about it, I would scrap Money in the Bank. Get rid of it. We don't need at least a break. We at least need a break from Money in the Bank. It's been 20 years. As of this year, as of recording this, It's been 20 years since the Money in the Bank ladder match was introduced, and it's been, what, 15 years since the pay-per-view was introduced? Every single year, there's only so many ways to go about it. You can have the heel sneak it in to pick the bones. You can have the babyface calling his shot. It's almost, and they've fallen into this spot where it's almost being used more as a storyline device more than a valuable asset to get somebody over and to make somebody more valuable in the long term. Let's look at Drew McIntyre from 2024. I bet you even forgot that he won Money in the Bank. It's because he cashed it in on the same night and wasn't successful, and it was just a drop in the bucket of an already red hot feud with him and CM Punk. It didn't add or take away from anything. It was a non-factor, and all it did was evaporate the Money in the Bank and prevent anybody else from benefiting from it. So now, that being said, the poor booking of the Money in the Bank in recent years, I mean, Austin Theory, are you fucking kidding me? A lot of people don't remember that he cashed in on the U.S. title. As I've been referencing it on X a few times. It seems like a lot of people forgot or just weren't watching. I wish I could black it out of my mind. That's for sure. But now, the poor booking isn't like the be all end all. It isn't like a standalone reason to get rid of it, because one solution is to just book it better. And it has aided guys like Damian Priest. I think it brought him to a new level. But once he lost the title, he's kind of fallen back to where he was. So ultimately, it comes down to long-term booking and being able to sustain somebody's character, to keep people invested in them. And Money in the Bank is not, it's not this magic pill. You can't just use it, give a guy a championship, and then all right, he's a made person. Just said Damian Priest. Who else? Jack Swagger immediately plummeted to, I would argue, eventually he was lower than he was before he had Money in the Bank. Miz, I mean, it was a joke. I guess it amplified him in the first time that he had it, but the second time it's like it did nothing for him. I could go on and on with these examples, but my point here, going back to what Fred says, if Money in the Bank exists, there's no need for Queen of the Ring. I partly agree in that I think we should just have King, Queen of the Ring. I'm just going to say King of the Ring just because it's what we're all familiar with. But when I say King of the Ring, I mean for both of them, both men and women. King of the Ring. Let's just have that. It's a tournament. First of all, they are doing King and Queen of the Ring. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my heavy air quotes here. It's like 4 fatal 4-way matches into the semifinals, and then that's it. It's horse shit. That's not a fucking tournament. That's fatal 4 ways into a singles match. That's not a tournament. King of the Ring. If like back to my ideal scenario, my ideal world. Have King of the Ring around this time, June, July-ish, a standalone pay-per-view, nothing but tournament matches. Maybe not nothing. I would say, since there's both men and women. Actually, I'm gonna give you two scenarios. The first one is that you have both men and women on the same show. Have, I guess, at least the semifinals for both. So that would be 4 matches and then 2 finals. So that's 6 matches, which in modern day WWE, that's pushing it. That's crazy. We're getting crazy. 6 matches. That's nuts. You're fucking nuts. But I have honestly, I have those 6 matches and then maybe one other bonus match. Be it a world title match or whatever the hell. And just have that be the thing. Have the show is about King of the Ring. It's honestly, the best example wasn't even King of the Ring. It was the Deadly Games Survivor Series, 1998. or 9. Was Deadly Games 1998 or 99? And I don't have to look this up, but it's gonna bother me if Deadly Game, that is 1998. Okay, I thought so. So 1998 Survivor Series. It was, I'll have it up here. Let me just make sure I have the right amount of people. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was 8 matches in the first round. So you had what? You had the play-ins, you had the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and then the finals. Now, obviously, if it's both men and women, you can't have both that for both. So, whatever, strike that in there. But my point is that they've done this before, and it would be beneficial if you just had the pay-per-view. It was a very thematic pay-per-view. You're tuning in to watch a tournament. Every match has stakes, and the ultimate stakes, the winner gets a world title shot at SummerSlam. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to be crazy with it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just have guys and girls have matches, and whoever wins the most matches gets the title shot. Sometimes it can be that simple. I promise you, people will be interested in it because every match is win or go home. That is the ultimate stakes. That's the ultimate investment. Very easy to follow. And ultimately, whoever wins this, they didn't just scurry up a ladder and grab a briefcase and now they get to cheaply win a title. No, they get to go through a tournament, show their skills, build their credibility through the tournament. And when they win the tournament, all of a sudden, you have a credible challenger that just showed that they're the best that there is outside of the champion. Now you have a collision between the best and the champion. Who is the true best? Who is the true champion? That's why we tune into SummerSlam. Bing, bang, boom. There's, for the men and women, that's 2 matches for SummerSlam with a built-in build. It could really just be that easy, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. We want to have a Money in the Bank and a wonky-ass Fatal 4-Way King and Queen of the Ring at the same time, amongst all of this. And then you have the it's too much. It's convoluted. So ultimately, Fretz, I do agree with you. I don't think both Money in the Bank and King of the Ring exists, or King and Queen of the Ring need to exist at the same time. However, if they do, I don't think they need to be right next to each other. You could have King of the Ring during the summer, and you can throw the Money in the Bank matches on WrestleMania. Night 1, night 2, have one on each night. It's how it started at WrestleMania. There's no better time to bring it back than now because you have 2 nights of WrestleMania. You have 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches every year. Throw them on WrestleMania. By the way, gives you a built-in method to get more people on the WrestleMania card, which they're seemingly hungry to do. That's what, 6, that's 12 people. That's 12 slots if we're counting both men and women that automatically get on WrestleMania. You boost the morale of the locker room. You give people a chance to shine. You'll give 2 winners great moments on WrestleMania. Just very tangible, real, just stakes and victories that they can have on that big stage. If we're going to have them both, have one at WrestleMania and have King of the Ring in the summer. That's what I would propose. Because ultimately, I think Money in the Bank has become stale. Is the point I was trying to get at earlier. I know I'm rambling at this point, but Money in the Bank's become stale. The match is exciting. I will admit, I'm always interested to see what direction they're going to go. I wouldn't even say the match is exciting. The Money in the Bank matches this past weekend, at least, I was not impressed with at all. The women's match, look, I couldn't tell you anything that's ever happened in a Money in the Bank ladder match outside of the first one. They all blend together for me, especially since the pay-per-view was established. I couldn't tell any spots or who was in them. Don't know. It's all just a mishmash of the same shit. It's all ladder bridges and people doing power bombs on ladders, and oh my god, they climbed to the top, they jumped off. Oh my god, how many ladders? I mean, enough ladder matches. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, but enough. Give us a break. Give us a break. This past week, I mean, the women's match was among one of the worst ladder matches I've ever seen in my life. But both the men and the women did this, and they always do it, but it was, for whatever reason, I was hyper fixated on it. It was a few things. First of all, if you're in the ring, right? If you're a wrestler, everybody's outside of the ring, you're in the ring, and you have a ladder set up. Just fucking climb it. Holy shit. We know. You don't have to stare up at the briefcase. Oh my gosh. That's my future. I can change my destiny if I reach that item. Let me point. This isn't fucking Dora the Explorer. Where is the volcano? Where? Behind me? You said it's behind me? Like, just fuck, you see it, go. Take one little glance if you want to. I understand WWE, we make movies, pal. You gotta establish to the dumb audience that doesn't understand that the goal is to climb the ladder and grab the thing that's hanging. You gotta make a spectacle out of it. Oh, let me stare at it. Let me stare at it for 12 seconds before I slowly unpack this ladder and incorrectly stand it up with the middle prong still unstraightened. And let me slowly climb it. These like ladder match tropes were so prevalent in both matches, but especially the women's match. By the way, how many goddamn stare downs do we need? This and the Royal Rumble, I'm sick of it. Every time there's only two people in the ring, they have to fucking stare each other down like it's this huge moment. Like they don't see each other every fucking week on TV. Oh my God, Rhea Ripley and Julia are in the ring. Yeah, they were in the ring like last week. Can we just get to the competing to win the thing? Holy shit. And don't give me the fucking, we gotta find a better way. You know what I'm talking about when one ladder is set up, like kind of towards the corner of the ring, and then they have another ladder that's, folded up, that's straight, and now we're making like a bridge in between the setup ladder and the turnbuckle. Both the men and women did this in the same corner, by the way. People have got to find better ways to make this more seamless and subtle. I mean, the way that everybody was just struggling we got to slide this ladder in between the rungs of this ladder, and then we got to make sure it's close enough to the turnbuckle. Oh, it's not. Oh, now we got to shift it. Oh, somebody's trying to attack me. I gotta clumsily like push them off so I can keep setting up this mousetrap spot for some convoluted bullshit later in the show. Oh, we got to get 2 code reds on dueling ladder. This is what I'm talking about, how ladder matches are stale. We're running out of ideas and everything is just fucking stupid. Enough. So I was not a big fan of either ladder match. The women's was dreadful. I mean, nobody is committing to taking any of these spots on the ladders. Everybody's scared. If you're going to be scared, don't be in the match. Like, or do spots that you can do. Like, if you don't want to take a suplex on the ladder, don't take the suplex on the ladder, but don't take this half-ass, like, oh my God, somebody was like taking, I think it was like Julia was taking Roxanne's head and smashing it on the ladder, quote unquote, and it just looked terrible. Like, they're all so timid. And if you're going to be timid, just don't have the match. Just don't have the match. And the men's match, I mean, we had all the bloodline shit and Seth's faction, which was fine. It was a little drawn out for my taste. Like, it felt like the rest of the fucking 5 guys were just taking a nap for literally like 12 minutes as Solo and Fatu were having their after school special inside the ring. I hate you. I mean, whatever, man. I love Fatu. I even love Solo. Solo's growing on me, by the way. This dude's, he needs a babyface run, man. That dude is as close to The Rock as there has ever been. The mannerisms, the timing. He's going to be a hilarious, lovable babyface one day. We just need to pull the trigger. Get this Fatu thing out of the way. And then let's move on, because Solo has potential as a good guy. He's a very likable dude. But yeah. So the Money in the Bank ladder matches, I liked that Naomi won. I'm aggressively indifferent that Seth won. I think it was the obvious, easy way to go. People are like, oh, he doesn't need Money in the Bank. He's a multiple-time world champion. He don't need money. All right. First of all, look, Seth, you people just look at the individuals in the match and they determine who is deserving of the briefcase based on just each individual in a vacuum. But they don't take into account all of the variables that are going on around them. Like, in other words, yes, Seth could get a world title match at any point. Yes, and he has recently. However, the briefcase provides a way for him to amplify his character and getting a cheap win over the champion, because ultimately the ethos of the faction is that they want the power, and they have no more power than having the briefcase that determines the fate of whatever champion he decides to cash in on. So it all makes sense in a storyline perspective. Now, could they have gone with somebody like LA Knight or whatever the fuck? Like, yeah, and it would have given somebody a jolt. But let's not pretend like, oh, they made the wrong decision. You don't know what the right or wrong decision is, asshole. Okay, shut the fuck up. We got a few more takes. By the way, I am still going to be responding to you guys. I'm just getting all this Money in the Bank stuff out of the way. We got some stuff related to the main event here, from a few people, but just to wrap up everything else about Money in the Bank, Becky and Lyra was good. The people, I don't want to make this like an overly angry and negative podcast, but it's going to be, because ultimately Money in the Bank wasn't that good. But I did like Becky and Lyra. Probably match of the night. They never miss, those two. Great chemistry. They have great match after great match with each other. Becky winning was pretty expected, and I expect them to have their rubber match at Evolution, and I expect Lyra to retain. And ultimately, at the other side, Lyra's already been amplified a ton. It's been given her a platform to establish her character. It's been given her time to speak on the mic. It's been given her time to let the audience know who she is. And I think Becky, better than anyone, has built up people. She built up Tiffany Stratton in NXT. She's building up Lyra. She built up Liv. She's built, I mean, it could go on. Becky and Lyra was good. What I was going to say earlier. The people chanting, "We want truth," during Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria. Go fuck yourself. Why? Why during that match? The one good match on the show is unfolding in front of you, and you want to get yourself over by pretending to care about our truth. Why is it during that match that you're chanting that? Doesn't make any sense to me. That was my gripe. With that. But ultimately, the match was good. The finish could have been more. The idea was that Becky grabbed the tights and cheated to win, but she didn't. So that was kind of a unfortunate. It was very Starcade 97 finish. It felt like it was like it's supposed to be a cheat, but it wasn't, kind of thing. But then the main event arrived. John Cena, Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. And that'll segue us into these next hard takes from my fellow bumpers. I did miss one in regards to King of the Ring. At a leg drop said the King of the Ring should have the $1 million championship as the prize. Hey, it's not any more ridiculous than that dumbass what was those goofy big titles? What was the name of those? It was the champion versus champion deal. Anyways, it wouldn't be more ridiculous than that, I guess. So, not a crazy take with that in mind. But back to the main event of Money in the Bank. We have a few people that more or less said the same thing, and this is all related to Mr. Ron the Truth Killings, or K Quick, if you're more familiar with him. At Matt Ritter, guest last week, says Ron Killings is R-Truth after foreskin reattachment surgery. Also, he should defeat John Cena at the end of his run and become WWE champion. At Jonathan For Reals says Ron Killings should be the one to take the title off of John Cena. Zach, from the Young Lions perspective on Discord, on the Apron Bump Discord, says WWE should just do a triple threat between John Cena, Ron Killings, and Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam. So these three gentlemen have all come forward with the premise of R-Truth, Ron Killings, being the one to beat John Cena, and for Ron Killings to become WWE champion. Now, I think we all just need to take a step back, right? Do we actually want that? Would it be a cool moment? Sure. But then what? We could have Ron Killings have a run as WWE champ? Do we want to see that? Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I'm asking. I don't. I don't at all, dude. Look, man. It's just, I don't want to get into the fucking, is it a work, was it not a work discourse, because everybody's just doing that ad nauseum right now. But I will give my 2 cents. First of all, when R-Truth, he wasn't even released, right? By the way, he wasn't fired. They just weren't renewing his contract. The overreaction to R-Truth getting let go was upsetting, dude. We want people are trying to hijack shows. We want truth. People are just, oh, TKO is a cancer. Oh, Triple H is a piece of shit. How could you? Can you fucking relax? It's not that big a deal. Did you actually give a shit about R-Truth before that? No, you didn't. You know why? Because he was in a WWE title program and everybody was shitting on it. Were people hankering for more R-Truth on our screen when he was doing the stuff with the Judgment Day, or when he was doing the stuff with Awesome Truth? No. Awesome Truth was almost universally hated in the second run, the most recent run. R-Truth, he would pop in for a funny moment. People would be like, oh, LOL, that's funny. All right, let's get to the serious stuff. Nobody was begging for more R-Truth on our screen. You didn't care about R-Truth to that extent. It's people online looking to obtain these weird, like, oh, look at how good of a person I am. I care about this guy having a job. Everybody look at me. Look at how sanctimonious I am. Triple H, bring him back. And I love R-Truth, by the way. Let's not get this, mixed up here. I'm a big fan of R-Truth. Back to his K-Quick days, to his TNA days. 2-time NWA World Champion, his stuff with Pac-Man Jones that I'm reviewing right now on the Apron Bump. He's great. He's a great talent. And more so, and nowadays, he's a great person just to have in the locker room. You saw the outpouring from the locker room, the wrestlers, the people that know him. You saw how loved he was, how valuable he was backstage. So ultimately, I think it was a dumb decision to let him go. I do. For nothing else than just for him to be an ambassador for the company, for him to just be, in the environment, to mentor the younger generation, to for just morale, locker room morale. But this whole idea that it's like, oh, WWE, what a terrible decision to let him go. Like, do I agree with it? No. But like, it happens. People get released all the time. And people come back all the time. People were drawing this out like the world was falling and like they had thrown him into a wood chipper. That's not what happened. They just released him. They decided what they were paying him wasn't worth what he was providing. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that is a whole different topic, but that's how they saw it, and they decided to release him. And then obviously they saw the backlash, and then they brought him back. But people were way overreacting when he got let go. Enough. But he comes back. Gets involved in the main event, costs John Cena the match. Now what? Now what are we doing? Well, people here, the hard takes that I just read out, people are suggesting that he should become world champion as a result. I think we're overcorrecting a little bit, boys. I think we're doing a little too much. Because what, he beats John Cena and then what, he faces Finn Balor for like, what are we main eventing Survivor Series, R-Truth versus whoever the hell? No, we don't need that. We don't need that. I am interested at the premise of a serious Ron Killings. I think his heel work in the early 2010s was great. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with him winning the title off of Cena. Honestly, but at this point, who cares, right? I'm saying all this like, oh, the guy who beats Cena is going to be amazing. Like, honestly, at this point, somebody just take it off Cena. It actually segues into the next hard take pretty seamlessly. We got my boy Charlie at Charty_B96 on X. Says, let me make sure I have the whole thing here. He says that besides the Elimination Chamber and the Raw promo after, John Cena's heel turn has been unwatchable. The matches have either been predictable or not good. A constant frown doesn't make him any more believable as a heel. The turn should have been done a decade ago. Charlie, I 100% agree with every syllable that you laid out here. I was very optimistic in the beginning. Like Charlie said, and like the prevailing kind of opinion, I feel like, is that the initial turn was crazy. It was an insane moment. And that's what it's all about. We live for the moments in wrestling, and it was a good one. Even if you think it wasn't a good one, it was a significant one. And the promo, dude, I was watching Cena's first promo in what was it, Brussels? His first promo as a heel, and I was getting like choked up watching it. I wasn't tearing up. It was that feeling like when you're a kid and you're getting scolded by your father. It's like this, like you're getting a dry mouth, and it's just like your throat's tightening up a little bit. It's like I can't believe it. I can't believe this dude is a bad guy. It's insane. But then he continued with this promo. And it was a very generic paint by numbers promo. It was a very you people promo. And I think we all kind of expected more from John Cena. For a turn this significant, this historic, from somebody who has been in the game for so long and is heralded by so many as the greatest of all time, I think we all expected a little more than you people never cared about me. What the fuck are you talking about, John? What, like in 2006 when people were booing you? People haven't been booing you since the U.S. title days. I think the Cena sucks era, the hyper, like, the vitriol online, the you can't wrestle, that shit stopped in like 2015, 2014, maybe. People, his U.S. title run, the open challenge stuff, was universally praised. And every time he would come back, whether it was against Roman or whatever, even like the goofy stuff with the Undertaker, like it was all loved. Even the stuff with The Rock. Once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime. People love that shit. But John wants to stand here in 2025 and be like, you never cared about me. And did you hear when you came back at what was it, Money in the Bank 2022 or 21, whatever year it was, when he came to face off against Roman? One of the biggest pops that's ever occurred in wrestling. He's always loved when he shows up. It just, the foundation of this turn, the direction they've gone with it, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. I think I spoke about, I believe I did, right? About WrestleMania. The Travis Scott stuff, which they still haven't even attempted to explain how Travis Scott and The Rock tie in. And that's another thing that's unfortunately hurt this is, look, I don't know. They're the scuttlebutt online, how The Rock and Triple H are on different pages and they're kind of clashing. You know, I take that with a grain of salt. But realistically, like, what other reason could there be? We haven't seen The Rock touch the product since that initial turn. And of course, I went over this a couple weeks ago, so I'm not going to duplicate it too much. But The Rock in his bullshit interview on Pat McAfee, I'm going to let Cena, I'm going to let him have the spotlight. I'm going to step back. What? It didn't stop you from getting involved at Elimination Chamber or with the stuff with Cody the previous year. I don't know, man. I don't know. But speaking to the heel turn of John Cena, look, the dude physically, he's been washed since like 2016-ish. His matches with AJ was the last hurrah. Everything since then has been, he had a couple okay matches with Roman, but like, man, he can't do it anymore, dude. He just can't. And some might think that, oh, he's a heel now, so he can have a more grounded style. He can have a different kind of, he doesn't need to be as energetic or as explosive, but he's not good at that either. And why should he be? He's never done it. He hasn't done it since 2003 or whatever. His matches are, like Charlie says, all of the matches are predictable. And this all kind of goes into this like new, somebody in the Discord said this. I want to make sure I have it right. I think it was Tom Austin. We were talking about like, you know, I asked if people are like plugged into the current product. Are we invested? Are we excited? What are our thoughts? What are our temperatures? And we were talking about, you know, the long-term story booking that has been way more highlighted in current day WWE. The bloodline stuff, I mean, all this, right? It feels like that they're building at least a year ahead. And what did Tom say here? He says, actually, no, Mark chimed in too. So I'm booking like a Mark. He said, for WWE, it feels like they're always building to something, but it never feels like anything matters. Back in 2008, people complained because there were 14 pay-per-views plus Saturday night's main event, plus the King of the Ring tournament on an episode of Raw and tribute to the troops. We are in a similar pattern this year when there's always another show to build to. Because of this, nothing has room to breathe. And then he makes the point that the night after Cena won the belt from Cody, we immediately went into the Cena-Orton program. The night of the Cena-Orton match, we started the Cena R-Truth program. The night of the Cena Truth match, we went right into the tag match storyline. There's never an epilogue or development of Cena's stories, just a bunch of semi-connected chapters. Which he puts it, you know, beautifully, like this kind of encapsulates my thoughts on it. It's that it's this very like, it's this Tik Tok brain rot audience that they're trying to cater to. It's very like bam, 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 bam. Like we can't like marinate in the story. We can't let it breathe, like Mark said. And then I responded to that point. It feels like WWE is too focused on the long-term stories in that they're trying to create something that ends up being meaningful, but the steps along the way feel tedious and like they don't matter. And then Tom Austin elaborates, or he tacks onto that. He says, later Vince years, short-term stories, and he says that with Triple H, there's long-term stories with lackluster checkpoints, which all of this is kind of what I'm trying to say, right? It's like they're so focused on A and Z, but B, C, D, P, like all of the other letters, it's just like, whatever. Oh, fucking who cares? Slap some stuff together. Hell, we'll put L in front of G. Who gives a shit, right? Oh, we'll come back to L. Oh, we'll have 2 Qs and 5 Gs. Like, who gives a shit, right? As long as we get from A to Z, that's all that matters, right? And no, it's not. You got to have engaging stuff in between. Like great philosopher Miley Cyrus once said, it doesn't matter how fast you get there. It doesn't matter what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. The climb is what matters. It's the journey. I don't give a shit what's on the ground. I don't give a shit what's at the peak. Make the journey there entertaining. If it's not, if I'm only entertained once, maybe twice a year, you have a dog shit product. I don't care how meta and whoa, you didn't even see this coming. It's all a part of the plan. Oh, we got from here, we zigged and we zagged. Oh, but it's all in an effort to get to this end point. Yeah, if it's dog shit in the middle, nobody's impressed. Nobody thought Randy Orton was going to beat John Cena. Nobody thought R-Truth was going to beat John Cena. The tag match at Money in the Bank, nobody gave a fuck about it regardless. I can't think of a main event that I've cared less about ever on pay-per-view. You kidding me? Eesh. So I think we covered it, right? I think we covered it. I think those are like the heavy topics here. And the rest of them are going to be a little bit more bang, bang, bang. But yeah, John Cena's heel run, I'm not a fan of. I'm sure they'll tie it up in a nice little bow and it'll be a fun little moment at the end. But Z is going to be great. A was great. Everything in between. There's way more letters in between than the endpoints. So the math don't math for me, brother. So thanks, Charlie. Appreciate you. At the Groucho Mark on X says that ring and stage design was better in the 90s and early 2000s than today. All right, this is my last soapbox I'm going to get in regards to Money in the Bank. I think. I don't know. We'll see. The Intuit Dome. I tweeted this. I'm going to say it here just in case you didn't see it. The Intuit Dome is the most visually unappealing venue for pro wrestling that has ever existed. It's worse than Hog Wild. It's worse than season 4 of Lucha Underground. It's worse than the 2002 Murphy Rec Center. It sucks. The dumb lights in the seats, if it's an overhead shot, it looks like there's nobody there. It looks empty. And you can see, because it's like not uniform. Because first of all, there's empty seats, but even if there's like people sitting in different ways or if they're different sized people, like the lights are just kind of like scattered in the background. It's like, it's distracting. It's ugly. It looks like something during the entrances, it kind of adds a little something, but during the match, it's just hideous. And I'm thank God they turned them off at some point during Money in the Bank. I think it was like after the first match. They turned them off. But on the Netflix premiere, they just left those bad boys on the whole show. And for what reason, I don't know. But if they ever come back to the Intuit Dome, just leave the lights off. Leave those dumb seat lights off. It was horrific. But in general, Groucho, I agree. I mean, so I'm gonna give some props to the modern day stage design. I love the minimalist design. I love it when it's just like a small screen, if there's even a screen at all, and it's just a wall of people behind the entranceway all around. I love the narrow aisles, like the Saturday night's main event. That was amazing. They have that every week. The steel barricades, the tiny aisles, not a lot of screens and hoopla behind you. Fantastic. But then you get to the ring and you have the goofy LED ring skirt and the LED and the posts, and you got the dumb announce tables with all the shit on it now, and you got the Slim Jim table. It's too much. It is too much. So ultimately, Groucho, I agree, but there are some aspects of the modern day stage and ring design that I do like. And I'm gonna say this: some people are really bothered by the ads on the ring mat, and I get it. Personally, I don't care. I hardly notice most of the time. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's like I've watched a good amount of New Japan and UFC, so it's not completely foreign to me to have a bunch of scattered ads on the mat. Would I prefer just a clean mat? Sure, but ultimately, it's not a deal breaker for me. Dwayne, can you fuck off? You diabetic piece of shit. Hey, asshole! How do you get so heavy? All right, just stay there. Brundo from the Discord says Jade Cargill will win the Queen of the Ring tournament and then win the title from Tiffy at SummerSlam, only to lose it right away to Naomi via cash-in. Definitely see this happening. I'm curious as to how they would make this not glaringly obvious that was I haven't really been keeping tabs on SmackDown that hard in the past couple months. It just seems like a slog to get through. So I haven't really been tapped in to the Jade, Naomi, Bianca stuff beyond, little clips here and there I see on social media. I don't see how. I guess maybe Jade could win. Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying. I'm a fucking idiot. So she's gonna win Queen of the Ring. So that's how she would earn that title shot against Tiffy. So that's how she would get brought out of the thing with Naomi, or at least it would like shift her focus. I feel like it would just be so present. Like you would be watching Jade versus Tiffany, and you'd be like, everybody would just be waiting to the end to see Naomi cash in. That being said, I could see them doing this, and I do like the premise of Naomi being a heel champion with Jade and Bianca in the picture, and you have those three kind of continuing their story and battling it out for months and months to come. So I like the thought. I'm curious as to how it would play out, but I just don't want it to be too obvious. I feel like that's another thing that just kind of enhances my point of Money in the Bank being stale. It's just so they make it too like, hey guys, I have the briefcase. I'm gonna be watching that world title match, and I'm gonna cash in. Like they used to like almost like make it like a secret that they had the money. Like they would let you forget about it a little bit, and then once the cash in happened, they'd be like, oh shit, they're cashing in Money in the Bank. Now it's just like, oh. I guess we're just going to wait until after this match is over and see if there's a cash in. We're not going to enjoy the match that's happening because we're just waiting for the cash in after. I don't know. But I agree, I guess. Brundo. Matt's at True Prince of Pro on X says that heel commentators take away from the product and are not needed in 2025. I think commentary is best when it's just two people that are calling the action, telling the story, and having fun without trying to put themselves over. That's why I think Mike Tenay and Don West are the best team. Preach it, Matt. Preach it. I agree with pretty much everything you said here. I mean, I can't really think of any like commentators that take away from the action for me. Heel commentators. I guess Wade's kind of a heel, but I don't think he's overbearing. Nigel in AEW's kind of a heel, but again, I think those guys they'll lock in during a match, and they won't. To me, they don't take away from the action, so I'm fine with them. I don't know if there's another example you're specifically thinking of, but I mean, like Jerry Lawler back in Jerry Lawler, like late '90s was pretty brutal. He's probably the worst instance of this, but yeah, no, I agree. I think commentary, keep it simple. It seems like they've gone back to the 2-person model, thankfully. And I think they've benefited from it. And Mike Tenay, Don West, shout out. Shout out those boys, the goats. Frets, once again, chimes in. Says that Marcus Corvon should have broken the streak. Finally, somebody says it. Finally. You're so brave. Thank you for being the person to say it. We're all thinking it for what, 12 years or whatever. We've all been thinking it. We saw Brock Lesnar pin The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, and everybody was aghast, not because Undertaker lost, but because Marcus Corvon was not the person that beat him. So I'm with you. Frets. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think it's pretty much universally agreed on. Sticking to the Monty Brown, sticking to the theme here, at Admire Its Purity on X says that 14-year-old me thought Monty Brown was going to be the guy. I was convinced. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That was my favorite element of the early TNA that I've covered on the podcast. Monty Brown in TNA. He was, I mean, dude, he had it. He wasn't the best in the ring, but man, his promos, his energy, his aesthetic, his character, his old deal, it's just phenomenal. And look, was he going to be like face of the company? Probably not, but he should have at least been world champion somewhere at least once, and it's a crime. There were multiple points in the history of TNA where he could have been, and they didn't pull the trigger. When he came to WWE, I think he had some personal stuff come up, so unfortunately, it was cut short. But I had such high hopes for him, and he's one of my biggest what ifs. If you haven't watched Monty Brown / Marcus Corvon, which for those unfamiliar, it's the same person. Check him out. Hard Justice, I think, is Monty Brown versus Samoa Joe versus Rhino. It's probably my favorite match of his. Probably. Go check it out if you haven't. Or just listen to me talk about it on the Apron Bump. Eric Freeds from the Discord says that WCW would still be around if TK was born earlier. So is the thought that Tony Khan would have purchased WCW and would have carried it for, I mean, maybe if he had the same money and his situation, he had the money from his dad and all that stuff, like possibly, but I think it's all for the best that it's not, personally. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I think the position that we're at today is fine, if that makes any sense. But we also might not have gotten TNA if TK was born earlier, which I think would have been a crying shame. So, don't know. It's a good thought, though. Matt at True Prince of Pro chimes in again, says that he says that the other hot take that I'm very passionate about is that Test should have been a multi-time world champ. Both times Big Show won the WWE title, Survivor Series 99 and Survivor Series 2002. It should have been Test, and Test should have also won the ECW title in WWE ECW. I don't hate the thought. The thing with a lot of people in that era, because there was so much talent. There were your Ken Shamrocks, D'Lo Brown, Bull Buchanan. Like, there's a lot of really talented guys in that era. It just happened to be the hottest, the hottest era of wrestling. So was Test good? Yes. But was he good enough to be in the mix for a long-term basis with Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker? Like, I think he should have done a little more than he did. But he was always like, kind of like at least on the peripheral of the main event. Like, he was always a factor somewhere. So I think he did have a good career ultimately. I don't know if he was a particularly, like, was he a good enough promo to be the top guy? I don't know. I think there was way more legs in Test as a babyface than a heel. I don't think they really capitalized on that enough. He was mostly just kind of the sleazy heel. And I think he would have maybe reached higher heights had they let him, like, the testicle stuff, as like silly as it was, like, people were into it. So I don't know, man. What could have been with Test? What could have been? ECW champion, though, for sure. He at least could have won that. I definitely agree with you. At Jim Avelli, if I'm pronouncing that right, on X, he says that the Attitude Era is far different and worse without Mick Foley. That's a fact. You're not wrong there, Jim. We've talked about it a lot recently on the podcast. We've been watching early Mankind stuff, his stuff with The Undertaker, his early stuff with Triple H. I would argue he made Triple H, and I would argue he potentially saved the career of The Undertaker, because Undertaker was floundering for years and years. Like, people liked The Undertaker, but he was just in dog shit feud after dog shit. I mean, Giant Gonzalez, and then you had the goofy stuff with Yokozuna, and then you had the King Kong Bundy stuff, and then you had Undertaker versus Undertaker, and you had, it's Mabel, like, and then Mankind comes, and then we have some kick-ass matches and a really fun feud. And then that kind of parlays into the stuff with Kane. The whole establishes Paul Bearer as his foil, which leads to Kane. So Mankind was a huge catalyst for The Undertaker leading into the Attitude Era. He gave a huge boost to Triple H. It was his first, like, big feud. Big, somewhat main event type feud for Triple H. Stuff with Shawn Michaels, like, he helped give him an edge. Totally agree. Mick Foley is just an not an unsung hero, but I think he's just very underrated. Even though he's rated very high, I think he's still underrated for what he did. And then the stuff with The Rock too. I mean, come on. His Dude Love run against Stone Cold was awesome. And then the later stuff with Triple H, and next week we're going to be touching on his match with Randy Orton at Backlash 2004. Now, that's not Attitude Era, but it facilitates the point that Mankind, Mick Foley, whatever iteration of him, he is such an important part of wrestling history, not just the Attitude Era. And we're not even touching on WCW and ECW, the promos he did in ECW, Kane Dewey. Legend. Shout out Mick Foley. Shout out. Freds has one more. He says, the invasion should have been much later and lasted longer, say around 2002 to 2004, so that the Turner contracts roll over, so you get Goldberg, NWO, Ray, etc. The brand split should have been WWE and WCW and not involve the McMahons. Overall, I agree. I think, I covered the entire invasion, and that was kind of a a running theme that if they just waited not even that much longer, man. I mean, like, the invasion ended in November of '01. The Raw after it ended, we get Ric Flair. Like, imagine if Ric Flair wasn't injected into the invasion, even as just like an authority figure. That would have added so much. And then what, like 2 months later, we get the NWO? Not that, maybe a year later, we get Goldberg. We got Eric Bischoff. Like you said, Rey Mysterio. You could have waited for like Eddie to come back and Benoit. That could have added more layers. Triple H could have added a different layer. Unfortunately, he was out with an injury. There's a lot of issues with the invasion, but yeah, if they waited like at least a year later, they definitely could have milked that more. It would have been a lot better for sure. I mean, we could do a whole episode on the invasion and what could have made it better, but ultimately, you know, we've covered all of those shows on the Apron Bump, but ultimately I agree. Yeah, man, what could have been if they had just waited a little bit, just a little bit. And you say the brand split should have been WWE and WCW. Maybe. I don't know if I trust, because ultimately the WCW would have been a WWE product, and I don't know if I trust WWE to. It would have been a WWE ECW situation, so I don't know if it really would have panned out well. But the thought I like, I just don't know if it would have panned out well if they did it that way. But in terms of waiting, I agree. It would have been better. Franklin at LMW Podcast, he says that Ruthless Aggression Era is full of what ifs. A guy that had tons of potential to me was always Gunner Scott / Brent Albright. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah, I mean, he was, for those who aren't familiar, Gunner Scott was his WWE name. Brent Albright was his name on the indies. He had a run in Ring of Honor. I think he wrestled in Japan for a little bit. I'm not sure, but I know he definitely had a run in Ring of Honor, which is where he shined more. He was very reminiscent of Chris Benoit, and they were doing a story where Gunner Scott was like the protege of Benoit, which makes sense because they had very similar styles and kind of similar like physiques and builds, and but ultimately it's like, okay, we have Chris Benoit here. Why do we care about Gunner Scott? You know what I mean? It's like it's just highlighting that he's the lesser version of Benoit. So it's like, why have a reason to care about him? I think he had talent, and I think because he had like the Regals in the picture and Hardcore Hollies and Dave Taylor, like you could have had a fun little division there. I think if he would have just been more separated from Benoit and not just like an extension of him, I think he would have had more success. But ultimately, I think he found himself in like the Indies and Ring of Honor, which is probably the better spot for him. I don't think he was a particularly good like promo or anything. So I don't know. Maybe if he was around like in like more modern times, like NXT type era, like black and gold at NXT, he could have thrived there. What's he doing nowadays? Is he still around? I don't know. You never know with these guys, these wrestlers. Yeah, shout out Gunner Scott. You don't hear that name a lot. At Jim Avelli, once again, chimes in. He has a couple more. He says that I don't have a Mount Rushmore and I don't need one. I enjoy a bunch of people for varying reasons, but if I buy into the game, Savage would have to be on it. And I'm not negotiating about it. I ain't trying to see no graphs, buy rates, merch sales, nothing. Put him the fuck on there, he says, which I respect it. I respect the passion. I respect the commitment. Look, I'm not going to argue with you. You seem to be very, I don't want to argue with you. I don't want you on my bad side. I get it. The Mount Rushmore discussion, and I've probably talked about it on here before. Wrestling is so, there's so many different facets of it, and there's so many different types of wrestlers. It's like, who's the best talker, who's the best in ring, who sold the most merch, who had the most buy rates, who had the best blend of everything. Like, there's just too many variables to just zone in on the 4 best. So Savage being on it for you, I don't mind. I don't hate it. But there's just too much. It's like, okay, we'll put Hogan, Cena, Stone Cold, and Undertaker, but what about The Rock? What about El Santo with, lucha wrestling? What about Gorgeous George, who kind of brought the whole fanfare and entrance music and the whole sparkles and all that? He brought that kind of flamboyance to wrestling. What about Antonio Inoki, the Japanese style that's so prevalent, that's so threaded throughout wrestling today? What about Rey Mysterio? What about Eddie Guerrero? What about Eric Escobar? All these legends in the industry. You can't just focus in on 4. So I agree with you, Jim. By the way, I agree with you. Your premise of not having a Mount Rushmore, I respect it and I agree with it. Jim also says TNA has multiple eras in time where it was totally worth watching. Missing out on Kurt Angle's best stuff there is a crime a bunch of wrestling fans have committed against themselves. I'm with you, man. That's why I cover TNA on this program, because there's so much good stuff, and Kurt Angle's run is a big element of that. I mean, we're in the midst of the thing with him. He's just linked up with Karen Angle on screen, and the whole thing with Sting, how Sting slapped his wife. I mean, the character work of Kurt Angle is in ring. I would say Kurt in like 02, 03 WWE is his peak, but as a character, his TNA run is unmatched. I'm so happy to be in the midst of it. It's been fun. It's been fun covering it. At Marks on Media. What's up, Troy? He says ECW was always garbage. Whew. Let me see here. Do I have a yeah, that's what I think of that. You know what? At Marks on Media, he says ECW was always garbage. That's what I think of that. Here's the bad take alarm. Fuck you, Troy. No, we covered ECW on your show at some point. There was some fun stuff on there, I think, right? Now, ECW, I mean, there's a lot of garbage. There is a lot of garbage in ECW, but there's also a lot of gold. And ultimately, the vibes, the atmosphere, just especially with the context of the time, like WCW and WWF both just stole from it. That's how good it was. They stole talent. They stole storylines. They stole themes, like the whole realism-based promos and characters. Like the NWO was heavily influenced by the stuff ECW was doing. Stone Cold Steve Austin, heavenly bodies, they were in ECW, was heavily influenced by ECW. And not to mention all, like, I mean, the lucha stuff, Tajiri, super crazy. You had Rey Mysterio, Eddie, Dean Malenko, Benoit, Rob Van Dam. I mean, there's just so much good stuff in ECW. The tag team, the Eliminators. Come on, man. Come on. Hack Myers, don't even get me started. No, I disagree. I respect your opinion, but you can respect my nuts when I drag them over your nose. So, Jim has one more. Jim Avelli. He says that wrestling from 2002 to Benoit's Weekend. Benoit's Weekend, is that a movie? Is that a Weekend at Bernie's spinoff? He says wrestling from 2002 to Benoit's Weekend or so has a mountain of supremely good work worldwide. HBK's second run, Angle, Noah, Indies, Ring of Honor, Hulk's last run, Hollywood Rock, Eddie's return. A lot of really good stuff. Okay, that's it. I thought there was gonna be a butt there or something. Yeah, no, it's an era that kind of people don't really point to. People always talk about the Attitude Era, or they bring up like 05, 06 wrestling. I feel like those are like the windows of time that people would default to, but there's like a little slot in the middle that I think is, and again, not to harp on the fact that I cover it on my podcast, but we've covered that we're in this era of Ring of Honor. We're in 04, we've covered 02, 03 Ring of Honor, the early TNA stuff, the WWE stuff in 04, which I'm kind of enjoying more than I thought I would. We'll touch more on that next week. And there's stuff that I don't even really talk about, like the Japan stuff, which I'm not too familiar with that era of like Noah and stuff like that. But yeah, man, there's a lot of good stuff. It's very fond memories for me. It's kind of a good time period. I mean, I'm 10 years old or so, roughly, during that era. So it's a good age to be a wrestling fan. So it has a special place in my heart for sure. Which is why I have such a good time going back and watching it and talking about it. So I agree with you, Jim. I think you're 4 for 4. I think I agreed with all your stuff. Yeah, good job. Props to you. You know what you get? That's for you, Jim. That's for you. Let me give you one more. Here's a good take alarm. All right. Brundo, once again from the Discord, says that if Dan Spivey was healthy, Waylon Mercy would have had a main event run in WWF. I mean, yeah, probably. Because he came around, 95? Like early, mid 95, which it's not like they had a lot of options. And for those unfamiliar with Waylon Mercy, he was pretty much a precursor to Bray Wyatt, the like Wyatt family iteration, that early iteration, the Hawaiian shirt and all that stuff. Was it Cape Fear? Is that the movie that it's based off of? It was Bray Wyatt was very influenced by the Waylon Mercy character. So if Dan Spivey, the guy that played Waylon Mercy, if he was healthy, I mean, that had tons of potential. The character work was great. He just couldn't carry it forward into the Bull to Bell stuff, unfortunately. His knees were shot. I mean, he's a giant man, of course. Like, how couldn't it be? How couldn't they be just ripped apart? But if he had come along a little earlier and was a little more virile. If he had more boners, he would have been better. So, one more from Scott George from the Discord. He says that Mr. Hard-On's haircut is straight fire. Oh, shucks, Scott, stop it. I mean, that's what I say to you. That's what you get from me. That's what you get that from me, Scott. Appreciate you. I gotta have something going for me, I guess. And that's it. I think we covered it. I think we did it. A lot of good takes, a lot of fun takes, if nothing else. Even the ones I disagreed with. It's fun talking about it. It's been a while since I've done this. I'll try to do these more often. These kind of mailbag-esque type of episodes. Take a little break from the old school stuff, recalibrating, touching on the current product a little bit, and then we'll get back into the old stuff next week. Like I said, we got Backlash 2004 next week, and got some fun stuff coming up. We got Bound for Glory 08, Bash at the Beach 97, Progress 50s coming up, Super Strong Style. We're in the midst of Ring of Honor. We got Joe versus Punk 2 coming up. It's a good time to get on the Apron Bump train. Let me tell you, we're intersecting these like peak points of each company at the same time. So it's going to be dense with fun stuff. We got a lot of new guests coming on in the next few weeks as well. So we're having fun, man. We're having fun. It's a good old time. So make sure you're subscribed, follow, all that stuff so that you're abreast of the happenings of the Apron Bump. But with that, easy day. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Love ya. Big smooches all over that face of yours.
Yeah.
I'm hard.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it.